Axel Foley is back in the fourth installment of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, and it's now streaming on Netflix. I have your review. Welcome to Movie World Plus, the place where we talk movies. I'm Andy Signore, and I'm here to review Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, otherwise known as Beverly Hills Cop 4. Man, it has been 40 years since this iconic film with Eddie Murphy, the original Beverly Hills Cop, which I got to say still holds up. It's a fantastic film, fantastic poster. I've been collecting VHS copies, and that is one I do not yet have. I want the original nice Beverly Hills Cop VHS tape. I love collecting them. Look, it's an iconic film, and I can't believe it's been 40 years. 40 years. And what's crazy, it's been 30 years since part 3, which, let's be honest, wasn't the greatest installment of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. Eddie Murphy, in fact, has said this since later. He previously had said it was better, and rumors were out there that saying that reports, I guess it was Bronson Pinchot, was like, he was taking the movie very seriously. He was bombing. His movies were bombing. He was very unhappy on the set. John Landis reported that he had to record scenes without him. All I can say is Beverly Hills Cop 3 was not a good experience, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the new star of the next one, of this new one, even shared that, yeah, Eddie was very vocal about how much he dislikes part 3. So let's get this out of the way. Is Axel F part 4 better than part 3? Absolutely. There is just an energy in part 3 that's just off. I don't hate it. I saw it more as a kid. When I came out, I was 14. I was a little bit more forgiving. It's like Axel F at Disney World. But yeah, he's just a little too serious and loses his charisma. And Eddie Murphy had sort of made that choice during the movie, saying, well, he's mature now. And I think that was a mistake. And that is something that Axel F, I think, fixes. He's still the same old Axel F, but they've sort of matured him in an actual plot way. They've addressed the issue because they've introduced a new character in this film, which I assume a lot of you've seen it or you're about to see it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to give you some of the plot. So if you don't want any plot spoiled, it's not that surprising. You can skip ahead and not watch. But the plot of this movie revolves around Axel F having a daughter. That's the plot. And it's a really actually solid choice. Played by Taylour Paige. She plays Jane Saunders. She has not taken the Foley last name. And there is animosity between these two that is teased at in the beginning of this film and as they eventually meet for reasons that the plot justifies. These two don't have the best history. Axel Foley might be the best cop in the world, but he has not been the greatest father. Why? Well, because Axel F is clearly a workaholic, obsessed with his cases, as a lot of cops do, and never really took time. He has his own opinions, and that becomes part of this film. But it adds a little bit more weight to the franchise, and I think justifies it, and works, while still Eddie Murphy gets to be the Axel F we know and love. They've now figured out how to mature him in a way that I think actually worked. On top of that, yes, the film gives a lot of fan service. Paul Reiser is back as Jeffrey. We have, it was so amazing to see these two back in action. Judge Reinhold as Billy and John Ashton as Taggart together again. It's a lot of fun. This is later in the film, to be honest. They've been teasing this a lot, but it does happen. But yes, even Serge is back. There's just a lot of really good new throwbacks that I didn't feel like were forced. It didn't feel like they were bad. It just felt like we were in a later installment of this franchise. It felt like a proper sequel. And this film is in no way as good as the first film. It'd be impossible. There just isn't a way to recapture that magic of part 1. It is a solid sequel, and I would say on par with part 2, which, let's be honest, part 2 is not that great. It's better than 3, but part 2 is just a solid sequel. Tony Scott delivers a really good style, and it's so shot like a Tony Scott film. And then part 3 is just this bland, it's just a completely different universe. This one absolutely feels like the better part 3 in a trilogy. If you skip part 3, in fact, it's funny. Joseph Gordon-Levitt even said he didn't watch part 3 in his research. He had never seen the films when he signed up, and then he did, and he skipped part 3 due to Eddie's hatred of it so much. But he is the new addition. In addition to this actress Taylour Paige is there, and they are the new people, including Kevin Bacon, also in the film as a police chief. You'll get a read on him pretty quick, but it's nice to see these two icons, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Bacon, together in a 80s throwback. What blows my mind is this This is 40 years ago. God, I feel so old. Now, granted, Beverly Hills Cop, the original, I was very little. I was too little to see it. I saw it when it's on VHS tape when it finally came out years later. Back then, it took a while for the videos to come onto VHS. Windowing was a real thing. We used to watch these films in theaters, and there were less options, and the films were better, and you just sat there and you enjoyed it, and then you had to go back and pay another ticket to see it again, and then you had to wait. You had to wait to see it. And then when it came on video, it was like, oh my God, it's back. We get to watch it again. There was just an excitement to films back then. And that's why Beverly Hills Cop, and so many in the 80s, particularly that year of 84, even so, was filled with fantastic films all throughout that summer. And these were just worthy experiences that really brought people together. And that's why I think Axel Foley as a character has stood the test of time. And I'm glad they finally cracked a way to bring him back in a fun, lighthearted, but also mature way. Look, I like Eddie Murphy a lot. He's not had the most hits, but my God, the dude doesn't age. He's 60 years old. He looks fantastic, and he still got it in this film. It still works. The Axel F character was always just obsessed with solving the crime and had a lot of fun doing so, and sort of was like, can get away with everything. And they use that in this way, in a smart way. Now, is this like a more dramatic, actually fantastically made movie? No. But is it a solid, fun throwback? Yes. As the film started, I was a little disappointed this was on Netflix. I got to be honest. I know a lot of you just appreciate being able to watch at home. There's definitely a convenience factor. But when I saw Bad Boys 4 in theaters, it just was a whole experience. And I got to say, I think Bad Boys 4 is better than Beverly Hills Cop 4. There's the directors of that brought a more cinematic, energetic, kinetic energy to it that Axel F doesn't have. It does feel bigger than streaming. It does seem theatrically worthy, but the film then does sort of get into its detective part of the film, which does feel more like a TV show at times, but just shot better budget. It's interesting. This is a movie that I think blurs the lines of theatrical and streaming in a way where, yes, the budget's big. Yes, there are big set pieces. It feels like a theatrical big movie, not like a streaming cheaper film. But pacing wise throughout the, later on, it did feel a little bit slower, but I still enjoyed it because I was invested in the mystery. All that said, Bad Boys 4 was such a joy in theaters. I think this one would have been as well, even though I would give the edge slightly to Bad Boys 4. Maybe it was because I was there with that crowd experiencing it together, which is what I miss about these movies. We are just not embracing the theatrical experience as much as we used to. I mean, for valid reasons, ticket prices are insanely costly. Studios aren't taking really any ballsy choices anymore. There aren't as many big movie stars like Eddie Murphy that are worthy of us wanting to go support. I don't care how much you shove Glenn Powell down my throat. I don't care that much about him. And nothing he's made has warranted me to say, yeah, I got to see the next Glenn Powell movie. I don't even mean to disrespect him. I'm just the age of a movie star like Eddie Murphy, Axel Foley. It's just not the same as it once was. So I will admit the nostalgia, the Memba Berries hit hard in this. And they played way better than they did in part 3, where enough time has passed. The character is worthy. The new characters are worthy. Seeing the old friends come in and feel validated, justified in the world and not forced in just for cameo sakes. The whole thing just worked for me. And I got to say, Axel Foley on Netflix is a worthy watch this weekend. While I wish it was in the theaters, and I think it would have done okay, it's nice that we all get to celebrate this at home and watch it streaming because everybody's got Netflix. So check out Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. I will say this is a thumbs up for me. I had a lot of fun. It is worthy. Check it out. I'm curious if you guys have already watched it. Are you planning to watch it? What do you think? Do you agree with me? And what do you feel like? Bad Boys 4, Beverly Hills Cop 4? Where do you stand in the mix? Beverly Hills Cop 1 trumps all the Bad Boys movies to me by a mile. I got to rewatch part 2 to see where that stands in the echelon of these films. But I think the latest Bad Boys, and maybe because it was theatrical, there was just an energy to it. I really like those directors. They are impressing me. They're making theatrical movies cheaply, and that's what we got to learn to do. That said, I wish this had been in theaters. What do you think? Tell me down below. Make sure you subscribe here to Movie World Plus, my movie channel. Appreciate all you guys watching. Happy 4th of July. Stay tuned for more here on Movie World Plus.